What's up, CineNerds?
I am Chippy.
I'm Ryan. Hey, before we get started in this movie, JP, I did want to talk about something. So we've talked about it in the last couple of weeks, but I wanted to get it on the front end of the podcast this time. JP worked really hard, and he's put a lot of effort into CineNerdsPodcast.com. It is our new website that we're pretty proud of, and it's kind of cool because not only is all of our stuff in a one-stop shop, kind of like our link tree, but there's also additional fun in there. Like JP has taken it upon himself to start doing some of the written reviews beyond our podcast itself and these episodes, so we can kind of tackle all the movies that we like. I'm going to start contributing into that too here soon. But please check it out. Take a minute, share, tell people about it. It helps us out.
And it's just an easy place to go. Everything's there. It's just, like you said, one-stop shop. You know, you get to every one of our podcast apps. You can get to any of the most recent episodes right on the main page. It's right there. So
it's pretty rad. And JP's been from day one of him getting it active and sending me the initial link to now. It's leaps and bounds, just getting better and better as JP keeps putting in the work.
Yeah,
so.
I originally launched it and I was sick. Like I built that while I was sick, like with 101-degree fever, and then after my fever went down, I looked at it and I was like, God, that looks like shit.
Hot-blooded.
This looks like shit. I need to fix this. And so I've got it pretty smoothed out now. So,
all right. Well, for this week, I'm going to let JP.
Before I dive into this, I've got something else. A special gift for you.
We already did this.
Yeah, we did this once, but I got another one.
What the fuck, JP?
So
the last one, for those of you who might not have seen it, JP got me a copy of the unaltered Star Wars original trilogy. Unaltered, so it's just the original, how you would see it as it used to come out.
The original Han shot first.
Yeah. So it's pretty badass. It's pretty nice. It's already been watched a couple times.
So while I was on tour, I had a friend that had brought me a gift. He brought it to me. And he's a good friend of mine, and he made me something that I can have him make more. So I decided this initial one that he made, I am going to give to you because I think I get people that bring me shit all the time being on the road, which is cool. I love it when you bring me stuff, you know, whether it's just Dr. Pepper or just little trinkets. I get little trinkets of stuff all the time. And this one was something I thought was really fucking cool, and I was like, you know who's going to love this? Ryan. And so I was like, he deserves this. So
I'm always scared when he hands me this.
He always thinks it's a gag gift, and I've never given him a gag gift.
The amount of ball busting that James, him, and I do, though, it's not without merit of me thinking so. Hell yeah, that is cool as fuck. So who made this?
Our audio listeners, this is I had a friend of mine. His name is Brandon. He's in the Illinois area. He made a CineNerds coffee mug with our photos on it and the logo. And so I don't drink coffee.
Oh, I do.
And
I drink so much coffee.
I knew that Ryan did, and that was actually why I decided. I was like, you know what, Ryan deserves this more than me because he will use this, and I can have him make more of these, and so I can actually get more of these.
These are great.
And so the people that are watching on YouTube, if you see this, if you like this, and you would like one of these, shoot me an email or a message. I can have this guy make some more of these, and if we have enough people interested, I will have some of these made. So
yeah, that's really kick-ass. So my favorite mug that I have is it says "I love you, Daddy," and it's from my youngest son, and I have that with me all the time at work. And I think this is going to be right next to it at work as well because this is awesome. Very cool. Well, Brandon, you're a gentleman scholar. Thank you for both JP and I, and that's awesome. I'm going to leave that right there. I'm going to put it. No, we'll leave it with the logo. Sadly, the logo's got me above it.
It's got Ryan's face on the logo. Let me see it right. Yeah, there we go.
Appropriate because The movie you chose is Soul Man.
This week I chose the film Soul Man. And, man, what a film is this?
Dude.
Had you ever seen this film?
So, years ago, I had seen it. Not, but I had not, I forgot the whole context of it. Because when I saw this when I was a kid, like, sadly, I say this, blackface in movies and movies like this were more common than not. And now I think we've all matured and moved past a lot of stuff like this. But this movie, should I get my initial impression? Just go right with it.
You go for it.
Okay, this movie, the first 30 minutes I was watching this movie, I was like, what the fuck? Like, it is so wrong on so many levels. I literally, like, every offensive thing you could do was happening in this window, including a white person stealing a black person's scholarship to Harvard. Like, that is the basis of the story, really. And it was so messed up on so many levels. But then we get past that 30, 45-minute mark, right? And you've got new characters coming into play, like James Earl Jones. You've got Rae Dawn Chong, which is Tommy Chong's daughter, as we were discussing.
And she was a beautiful woman.
Yes,
she was gorgeous.
without a doubt.
She is gorgeous.
And she makes him rethink everything. C. Thomas Howell's character makes him rethink everything throughout this. And James Earl Jones is an amazing professor in this, amazing actor in general. We all know that. But the lessons that kind of come out of it and the way it goes from there, I was beyond impressed. It ended up being pretty solid. Very funny movie. Who was the girl that was Liam Neeson's daughter? She looks familiar from some other movie, and I almost thought it was the girl from Starship Troopers, but I was wrong.
You mean Leslie Nielsen?
Leslie Nielsen.
You
sorry.
said Liam Neeson. I was like,
oh my God.
I was like,
sorry.
Did we watch Taken?
No. Sorry. Leslie Nielsen's daughter in this movie.
Melora Hardin. I'm not sure who she is.
Doesn't she look like that redhead from Starship Troopers?
I can see where you're going with that, but no, it's definitely not her. But
well, she was smoking hot in the movie. Anyways, all around, initially I was going in this and I was pretty put off.
This girl played in Monk.
I know she was a monk.
Yeah.
But initially I was put off, and the movie definitely boomeranged back into my heart. It was good, start to finish. Lessons learned, things happen. It was well done.
So, I'm honestly like you. I had not seen this movie in decades, like probably early 90s.
I was probably, I don't know, 10 or 12 when I saw it.
And that's probably the last time that I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because what had happened was at the last show of tour, Ryan looked at me. We didn't get a chance to talk a lot at that show, but we talked real quick for a minute in this little side stage area. And he said, what do you want to record? We want to film. When you want to do this? And he's like, I kind of want to do the film Half Baked. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know what I want to do yet. And so as he said he wanted to do Half Baked, I went home and I follow like multiple like VHS groups and stuff on Facebook. And I opened my Facebook, and on one of these groups that showed up in my feed was a poster for Soul Man. And I was like, fuck me, I haven't seen that movie in years. I was like, oh, that's the one where C. Thomas Howell does blackface. And I thought, man, we've got to revisit that one. That one's going to be a controversial one that would be great for a show to see how we react to C. Thomas Howell doing blackface.
Which, when he initially told me Soul Man is his choice, I was kind of like hesitant because I knew there was some element of blackface in there. But I just didn't remember the full vibe. But it was kind of funny because before I chose Half Baked, my other option, so I was trying to give us a little horror sci-fi break, and my other choice was actually going to be Tropic Thunder. So when he told me this, he didn't know that, and he just actually found it out now. But we both had similar things in mind because these are topics that need to be addressed and covered, and I do think that there are certain movies where these things can be done well and come out with a good purpose.
Well, and then from there, I was like, I wonder if this is even available. You know, because I saw this on a VHS group page I follow. So I go on Vudu, Fandango at home, and it's on sale for like $6. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to buy Soul Man for $6. And that's the movie we're going to cover because, yes, it's Soul Man.
I do want to talk about digital movies for a second. I was seeing your library in the Fandango at home. There's the moviesanywhere.com, redeemmovies.com. There's all these different places where you can redeem your digital codes. And usually they all link to your main streaming sites, but not always. And
some of them do, some of them don't.
I know, but it's so fucking I want it all in one place. Like, why does it have to be like that?
What I do is I only use 2 apps. I use Fandango at home and I use Apple TV. And I have them linked, so anything that will link between Movies Anywhere will show up in vice versa. But if they don't, then I know that I have to go to either Apple or Vudu.
Movies Anywhere will do Prime for me as well, so that's why I used it in there. But yeah, that's a little frustrating. But okay, back to the movie. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, $6. I was like, fuck yeah, this is what we're doing. Soul Man, Blackface, C. Thomas Howell. Here we are. Now, one of the big things that I didn't realize until after I'd actually watched this film, and I was looking at the IMDb. Steve Miner directed this fucking film.
He laughs and says that like I know who this is.
You should know who this is.
I probably do once he tells me who else he directed, but
Steve Miner is, I'm going to tell you right now, Rick is screaming at you right now from the whole damn enchilada.
That's okay. Listen, before he gets into this, I always attribute this like this. Yes, I'm a CineNerd. Yes, I love movies. However, just like I love Star Wars, I love Star Wars and I can tell you all about the lore. I can tell you all about the history, the chronological, what's canon, what's not. I can do all that. However, there are deeper, huge dorks out there who can tell you the names of specific guns, droids, droid parts, languages. I'm not that guy. And I kind of attribute that to like directors and production and
so Steve Miner, his first 4 films, I'm just right off, I'm going to do the first 4 films, and I'm going to mention a couple more of his that were some of my favorites. His first film was Friday the 13th Part 2.
Okay.
Second film was Friday the 13th Part 3. Third film was House.
Okay.
Fourth film was Soul Man.
What the fuck? That's quite a weird jump.
So from there, he did one of my favorite, another religious film. One of my other favorites, Warlock, the original Warlock. I fucking love that film.
So I haven't watched that, Excalibur, or what's the other one? There was another one that was like that. Anyways, there's 3 films that I haven't watched in the same window since I was a kid, Warlock being one of those.
I love Warlock with Julian Sands and Richard Grant and Laurie Singer from Footloose is in it.
What I remember of it was amazing.
He also did Forever Young. Yeah, random. He also did one of my favorite monster flicks, Lake Placid, the original Lake Placid. He did H2O. This is the motherfucker that did Halloween H2O. Same guy did Soul Man. Yeah, who would have thought that this guy?
I think that is on my list to do this year. I'm gonna go through all the Halloween movies and watch them in their timelines and I'm going to watch everything.
We can do an episode on that.
That'd be cool.
Whenever you're ready, you do it, and I'll follow suit. Because I've actually done that.
I think my wife did it last year because she
I did
loves
it last.
Michael Myers.
I did it last year.
So that's why I'm like I think I'm long overdue. I gotta get back on that one.
I actually did it last year, and I actually do it every year, and I've started redoing it now with all the newer trilogy, but I know those films so well. I had jumped in and did Halloween 2 with Rick from the whole damn enchilada when they did their retrospective on all those films a few months ago. And he called me like the day of. I was like, hey, is there any way you can do Halloween 2? I was like, yeah, blindfolded.
Fair.
So, Soul Man, let's just dive into it. We've rambled, even though it's still been
for sure
about things about Soul Man. All right, let's get into the plot's synopsis real quick. All good things must come to an end, and now the party is over for the carefree, pampered, and very white California kid Mark Watson. As a result, with his self-made millionaire father refusing to pay his tuition to attend a prestigious Harvard law school, Mark's only hope rests on a full scholarship intended for an African-American applicant and a bunch of tanning pills. Now, with his curly perm and dark complexion, Mark can fraudulently make his dream come true. However, has Mark ever considered the ramifications, moral or legal, of this deception?
Okay. That's a weird synopsis.
It is a weird synopsis.
It's pretty direct.
Yeah.
The synopsis for me in a nutshell is spoiled, pampered kid. His daddy cuts him off because dad wants to spend money himself. Dad kind of freaks out when he gets admitted to Harvard, realizing how expensive it'll be. The big joke was that 3 years of Harvard law school was only $54,000.
I was laughing so hard. It goes like, how am I going to pay $54,000 for 4 years of college or 5 years of however many
3 years of law school?
And I was like, when he said that, I was like, man, that's like 1 year of college in like most colleges now, you know.
But yeah, so he freaks out, and he's like, he's got his friends are making fun of him because they find out that he's not financially able to. He goes to the therapist. The therapist who's is Alf's dad. I can't remember the actor's name, but he was Alf's dad on the show Alf. He goes to the therapist, and the therapist is actually basically putting all of his stresses off onto the dad and Watson's character, saying, "You kids are all the same. You just get spoiled." And he's like going off. So Mark starts getting creative. He starts trying to figure out ways around it. They find this scholarship, but it's African American scholarship. He also finds out the year before there were nobody received the grant, and so he's thinking that there's nobody that's qualified in the LA area, and that he could probably get it so that it doesn't get wasted, isn't in his mind. So he goes in, he meets the board, shakes their hand, and that's the first time he turns around and you see him. Now, the tanning pill thing that he mentioned in the synopsis is kind of funny because there's like this surfer dude kind of character who is a friend of.
It's Arye Gross, which is the main guy that played in House 2.
So this character, he said he's working for a company that he's testing suntan lotions, and he gives him all these pills that make his skin turn black, so people think he's black. But it gets really interesting from there. As soon as they go into Harvard, like right off the rip, there's a guy who's kind of helping him move into the new place. He's working for the landlord, and he's like, I don't think my boss knew that you had a black person moving in with you, and like it already starts right off the rip. And his boss is Leslie
Nielsen, yeah,
and he is this stereotypical white male, upper class, who does not take well to anyone who's not white. Yet alone his daughter, who's the same age as Mark Watson, being near anyone who's not white. So of course his daughter instantly sees Mark and is like gooing, guying, if you will, and wants to be with him.
She likes dating ethnic people through the film.
Yeah. But I don't want to give the whole breakdown. Let's just get into the fun of it.
So, yeah. He starts on his tanning pills and says that he took more than recommended. And, yeah, he the makeup effects for C. Thomas Howell as blackface. You know, it's funny because one minute you'll see, and it's like, man, the makeup department did a pretty good job. But then you look at it in the next scene, you're like, man, this is really bad. It's really bad.
It's weird because it's almost like if you eat a cake that has too much blue and green icing on it, and the way it comes out, that's the color that they made, like he would look sometimes in some of the scenes. It was rough. But I will go back to what I said in my initial take on this. The first 30 to 45 minutes in this are pretty rough as he's coming up and formulating this plan. You see the blackface. You see that he's taken this from a African American. This grant, these funds. He's got no concern about the ramifications of it whatsoever. And his first teacher that they see, though, is James Earl Jones. And this teacher, he wants to give no one any slack whatsoever. You basically have to earn your way. He doesn't care what color you are. He wants you, to him, especially black people, have to work harder because they have to be better.
Yeah.
So he's already teaching lessons to the Mark.
And it shows in the scene where C. Thomas Howell gets pulled over by the police and took to jail, and they take him to jail because they ask for his ID, and obviously he's white in his ID, and he's like, "Oh, well, I forgot my ID." And so you're going to arrest me because I don't have my ID, and they throw him in jail. So he ends up spending the night in jail instead of doing his assignment, and when he gets back to class, he tries to explain this to James Earl Jones, and he's just like, basically what you said. He's like, I expect more from you. Get it done. If you end up in jail again, here's my number. Call me. I'll bring you your assignment. You can work on it in jail.
He his roommate, who's his best buddy too, he fucks with him pretty hard. He tells him, what was it? It's basically an African American group that gets together to discuss their collegiate activities, and his roommate tells him that they're an activist group. So Mark Watson dresses up like a Black Panther and shows up to this group, and he's the only one, and everyone's staring at him. He's like, "Fuck." And so that was kind of comedic off the rip, because the biggest part of that is this I don't remember her character's name, but Rae Dawn is the actress. Sarah is the one who he's trying to impress. He sees her first day while he's on campus, and he falls pretty hard for her right off the rip. He didn't care what color she was. He just saw her and he fell for her. More things start developing as this movie moves along, and he in turn found out that the grant that he received actually would have gone to her had they chose no one in LA. It would have gone over to the San Bernardino state,
yeah,
and she would have been the candidate that probably would have received it and would have helped her. And the bigger kicker of that is she already has a son. She's got a son that she's trying to work multiple jobs and multiple things, take care of her son, do all these things, and he realizes that he's taken this from her and he cares about her significantly. So these things start becoming real problems. He realizes that there's consequences for his actions. And the big one, too, he's also walking a mile in someone else's shoes. Mm-hmm. As JP pointed out, he gets pulled over because he's being profiled. And after he gets pulled over being profiled, he goes into a jail cell with a whole team of redneck racist dudes that are all white.
They beat the shit out of him.
They beat the crap out of him.
They end up getting evicted from their apartment. It's a domino effect. I mean, he gets treated bad. He sees how the other side lives. He walks a mile in their shoes, and the ending of this film kind of sums it up pretty well with the conversation between him and James Earl Jones.
Yeah, he essentially, all the comedy aspects, because there's a lot of comedy. We did just get into the serious part of it. There's a lot of good laughs in it. But when him and James Earl Jones are talking, because James Earl Jones wants him to be a black person representing on a student body form of, like, basically their legal counsel. They make all the decisions of who gets in trouble, all the disciplinary action, all that stuff. He wants him to represent the African Americans at Harvard. So he gets his buddy to lawyer up before they just give up, and he shows up all of a sudden. I don't know how many days he has to stay off these medications. Yeah. All of a sudden he was whiter than white.
He's white boy.
Shows up and basically admits all of his wrongdoings, admits that he took the scholarship or grant from Sarah. They go into James Earl Jones's chambers, and he's telling about how he's going to make it up, how he's going to make things right. And in those things, he not only returns all of the funding to Sarah, he pays her interest on that as well. He makes it so that he had to do some kind of something for the black community once a month. And then his big one was that when he graduated with his law degree, that he was going to give an annual percentage of his salary for a scholarship that was made in Sarah's name, so that he could give back in a better way.
Well, and even for me, You know, the bigger thing, even more so than the stuff that he's paying forward in this scene, is when he's talking to James Earl Jones. He says all this, what you just said, of what everything he was going to do, and James Earl Jones tells him, he's like, "Well, it seems like you learned
a lot more than you bargained for.
You learned a lot more than you bargained for, and you understand what it's like to be African American or black." And he basically says, to the extent, I can't remember how it went word for word, but essentially he said no. He said, because I could always go back to being white. And he's like, and that's what I did. And he's like, so I don't understand. He's like, but, he's like, but when he says this, James Earl Jones is like, you do understand, more or less, like, you do understand. You understand that you don't understand. Yes, you lived this life for the past few months. He's like, but you don't understand we can't stop being black.
It's like you can try and understand it, but because you're not, you never will. And I did appreciate that. And I also appreciated, so throughout the entire movie, that when they arrive at Harvard there are these two guys who are white frat boys who constantly tell racist jokes about black people. And as Mark's character progresses through the movie, the first couple times, every time he'd catch them and he'd be staring at them and they'd feel awkward, they'd be like, "Oh, sorry, no offense, no offense." They kept saying that. And then towards the end, Sarah pretty much, she's disgusted by him. She's mad at him. She feels betrayed, lied. She won't forgive him. She's really putting him through it to try and, because he wants to win her back. He definitely cares about her. Her and her son are walking out of the cafeteria where he now has to work because he's trying to make that money back to be at the school. And these two guys are walking in and they make a very, very inappropriate joke about an African-American child.
Mm-hmm. In front of her child.
In front of her and her child. And there's no hesitation. He just decks them and knocks them out. And he goes, "No offense," afterwards. And all of a sudden she was like, I'm okay with interracial relationships.
Yeah. Jungle Fever.
I forgot about that movie too.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a good moment. It was a great moment. It was checking racism where it needs to be checked, holding yourself to a higher standard and being a better person. So there were good takeaways from this movie. When I went into the movie rewatching it, I definitely thought it was gonna be negative.
I did too. I'll be honest. I'll be real with you. I thought going into this, because I hadn't watched it since, like probably the early '90s, and going back, I was like, man, there's not going to be any redeeming qualities in this film. No. There's not going to be any. And then as I watched it, and by the time it got to the end, I was like, fuck me. There's actually some redeeming qualities in this. Even though C. Thomas Howell does blackface in this film, there's a lot of redeeming qualities in this film. And even though Spike Lee came out against this film, I did read a little article on this that Spike Lee came out against this film, but I think once it finally came out, one of the producers or somebody, because Spike Lee came out and was basically bashing Rae Dawn Chong, and one of the producers came out and basically bashed Spike, like, look, you don't need to come at her, and I think from kind of what I was reading, once the movie was out, and I think by the time he heard about the ending and how it actually played out and actually saw it, I think Spike Lee even had a little bit of a different opinion of this film once he actually saw.
I think that if you had anybody but James Earl Jones play that professor, I don't think this movie would have been received as well, because he is such a powerful presence on screen. This movie, because I expected it to be a joke, I expected it to be like supposed to be a comedy. Whenever he was on camera or on screen, he
was serious.
He was powerful. Yeah. He was impressionable beyond words. He's just an amazing actor. So I don't think that there was Spike Lee can say whatever he wants, but I think that the things that came away from this movie were good. And
yeah.
Gist of it.
I mean, there's a lot of risque racist things in this film, and like Ryan said, the first 30, 40 minutes of this film, you're like, holy fuck. And we didn't talk about it, we skipped over a lot, but the dinner scene with Leslie Nielsen, C. Thomas Howell, and the daughter and the mom.
Yeah. All the
Oh
like,
my God.
the prince. Oh my God.
Now, granted, I was laughing in this whole scene. I was laughing because it's fucking funny. I'm sorry. It's fucking funny. But man, this is a scene that would never play out in today's world.
No.
At all. Like it's pretty fucking racist, and so most of it's funny. Most of it is legit funny. Like I think the mom, like her, because essentially in the scene there's Leslie Nielsen, basically it's the dad, mom, the daughter, and the son. And C. Thomas Howell is sitting next to the daughter because he's at the dinner with the daughter. And basically the daughter looks at C. Thomas Howell's and she sees him how you see C. Thomas Howell from her eyes and then from her mom's eyes, how they perceive him, then the son's eyes, and then it gets to the father's eyes. And some of them I think are legit really funny. Like, I think the mom's perspective is fucking hilarious because she's just oohing and ahhing.
Same with the son.
And the same with the son. The son looks at him, and then it goes to C. Thomas Howell dressed as Prince and playing guitar. But then it gets to the dad, and it's like, oh, yeah. You know, and it's basically like a pimp. Yeah.
Hold on. Well, let's rewind here to another thing that threw me back. I don't know. There's one little line that was said. It was when he finally shows his best buddy what he's done to his skin and everything. He's trying to like justify it. He goes, "Come on, man! It's the Cosby decade."
He does say that.
I was like, that did not age well at all.
That did not age well.
So that was a little bit of a rough moment. And the whole time, the whole movie, honestly, too, because of the scene where in The Outsiders, where C. Thomas Howell bleaches his hair blonde, and now his hair was, or now his skin was black, obviously. I just kept yelling, "Pony Boy!" every time I fucking saw him. He's always gonna be Pony Boy to me.
Oh, I thought the same thing, Pony Boy. I always think of Pony Boy, and then I think of the volleyball movie Side Out. Did you ever see that one?
I don't remember it.
It stars him and the main guy from the original Children of the Corn.
Maybe I do remember that. That sounds really familiar.
Yeah.
It was definitely an 80s movie.
It was definitely an 80s, early 90s movie.
A couple other little things of note, too. So one of our previous episodes we covered Half Baked with the legendary Tommy Chong in that as well. Mm-hmm. And I'm bringing him up for a reason, because Rae Dawn Chong is his daughter. And I also didn't know that, I don't know if it was during this film, before this film, after this film, but her and C. Thomas Howell were married. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting, too. And another fun thing about Rae is that she discovered Chris Pratt.
Really?
I did not know that.
I did not know that.
So I was like, I guess he was a server at a restaurant. She sat down and he took care of her, and they started talking, and he was doing what he does. Cause
I knew that he was a server at a restaurant and got discovered that way. I didn't realize it was her, yeah.
So that's kind of cool, because I think Chris Pratt's pretty cool. Let's see, what else? There was a gym scene where one of the douchebag frat boys was in, and I didn't care for the dude, but it was kind of a cool little throwback to Cleveland, but it was a St. Ignatius shirt. And I was like, hey, look, Cleveland represent. All right. Oh, we haven't talked once about Julia Louis-Dreyfus being in this, too. She was another unexpected, very young Louis-Dreyfus. Yeah.
From Seinfeld.
Yep.
And, yeah, she don't have a big part, but a reoccurring part in this film. But she's a baby in this film.
Yeah, she's very young. I hated her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was definitive tool. A lot of the white Harvard dudes in this were, though, with the intent of delivering that message.
Well, I mean, they got what they were going for. Yeah, and there was somebody else in here that. Yeah, I guess that was it. And the Alf's dad was Max Wright.
Max Wright, that's right.
Yeah. And he played the therapist that caused him to lose his money from his dad.
In a weird twist of events, when I was looking at some of the stuff on IMDb, I was looking through it, and for some reason, she popped up in the bottom corner of the screen. Zoe Kravitz's daughter, or Zoe Kravitz, Lenny Kravitz's daughter, herself currently, where she's at right now, she looks like she could be Ray's daughter. Mm-hmm. They look so similar at this age and where they were. Like
I could see that.
Yeah, it was very odd, but I definitely was a fan of that.
Yeah, because Rae is a gorgeous woman. I don't know who her mom is, but
I don't know either. All I know is because I looked up where the Chong comes from, and it's Tommy Chong's father was Chinese. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I did not know about anything with the female though. Her name, because they had the names linked in IMDb, but it only had a name for a profile for Tommy, not the mom. I just saw her name. So
I'm opening it now. Just so
one other fun thing is the little boy, her son in the movie. His name is George, I believe. Was it George?
Sound drop.
He was playing and doing the voice for Grimlock. He was playing the Transformer in the 80s.
I did, yeah. He had Grimlock. Yeah.
He's Grimlock. Oh, he's doing I love Grimlock.
Yeah, whenever he was doing that scene, I was like, he's got a Grimlock.
An OG Gen 1 Grimlock toy. I'm a nerd. I know. Sorry.
Her mom is Maxine Sneed, but I have no idea who that is.
Yeah, I didn't recognize the name either.
Yeah. It don't have a link to her or anything, so yeah.
I do think that they should have. I do like Ray's name, but the Rae Dawn Chong. that's a rough one, but okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Rae Dawn Chong.
Rae Dawn Chong.
Now
we can't. Yeah, we can't. So we can't. You can't even say that without it sounding racist.
That's what I'm saying.
That wasn't even deliberate. It just rolls off the tongue that way. Oh, man. I'm going to hell now. All right.
I may have let him there. It's all right.
He set me up on that one. Box office.
I did not get this one either.
I've got it up. So
what was the budget?
The budget for this was $4.5 million.
All right, and that's 86, so okay.
Yeah, so that's probably equivalent to what, 11 or 12 million today, maybe a little more.
I was gonna say, so box office, let me guess, 12 mil.
Oh, it's way more than that.
Really?
Yeah, I was surprised at how much this movie actually made.
All right, let's go 73 mil.
I didn't go that high.
Okay.
This movie.
You said way, and you pointed out.
It was way higher than what you guessed. On a $4.5 million budget, it made $35 million.
Okay.
So
I hope a lot of people learned some lessons then.
So in '86, $35 million. That's a lot of money.
That's not bad.
That's a lot of money in '86. I mean,
surprised there wasn't a Soul Man 2.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of where I was heading with that. When I saw how much this movie actually made, I was like, I'm surprised they didn't greenlight a sequel for this pretty quick. But they probably got so much backlash, that they were like, we better just let that one ride with where it's at. All right, ratings.
Okay, so this was JP's choice, so I'll go first here, and that I'm going to go with. So, again, extremely put off in the first 30 minutes because I was like, I don't even feel comfortable watching it, just because.
And my job here was done.
Yes and no, because I never want to not acknowledge cinematic history because I do think that where there's mistakes, there's lessons to be learned, but this movie, without you having to reference this movie as a mistake, this movie delivers the lesson that's learned within itself. And it that first 30 minutes, while that was rough, the rest of it was actually done very well, I thought. I liked how there were lessons learned. I liked how he literally walked a mile in another person's shoes. I liked that James Earl Jones was so emphatically intense throughout all of his moments. He has a way that doesn't leave you. He's a presence to be reckoned with for sure. So all in all, though, this movie still wasn't magical to me by any means, but it was definitely good in what it delivered. So for the message it delivered, I will keep this also at a flat 3 nerds.
Okay. So, like I said, I picked this film, and I picked this film solely for the fact that I had not seen this film since the early 90s, no different than you, and I knew that it was going to be a risque film, and I wasn't really sure what to expect rewatching this, other than I knew there was blackface through the whole film. And so it was basically picked on that, solely on that knowledge. Like Ryan said, this movie is not magical by any means. I mean, is it worth the watch? You know what? Sure, for the message, I can agree with, people who get mad about blackface all they want. This movie, as racist as this movie is in the first half, and it still is even in the second half, but this movie really redeems itself from a more of a modern standpoint with how people act and with blackface, or how people are how minorities are treated. It really redeems itself. Like you said, James Earl Jones is such a force in this film. C. Thomas Howell, even though, I mean, he's the guy that's in the middle of this with doing blackface, he's the one that's learning the lesson in this film. And I think the lesson's learned, and is the movie fun? It's okay. It's kind of a funny film. It's a comedy, but I wasn't laughing out loud throughout start to finish. It's not anything special, but it does have a really solid message by the end. I am going to sit this movie right smack dab in the middle. It's coming in at a 2.5. I honestly, I think if the message by the end of this film wasn't so good, I think if James Earl Jones wasn't so powerful in this film, this movie would easily be a 1.5 for me if it wasn't for those factors, because the movie's just not that funny.
I probably would have gone lower, honestly. James Earl Jones and the message delivered here. That's why it's like, I feel like this movie is important for numerous things. One is acknowledging where mistakes have been made in film, and then also because it does teach lessons here. So it teaches people how to be better people and not be so stereotyping and judging. It's definitely a good movie. And important.
I think if it wasn't for those factors, I said I might have went as low as a 1.5. You might be right. This might be the lowest. I might have gave this the lowest rating of any movie we've done, and I might have went to a flat 1. But that wasn't the case. James Earl Jones saved this movie. C. Thomas Howell really saves this movie. I mean, C. Thomas Howell is great in this film.
Yes.
And
Bunny Boy.
And yeah. and the conclusion, you can tell that Steve Miner is a good director. You can tell that he knows exactly what he's doing, and he knew how he wanted to end this film. He knew how this film had to be how it had to end. And
who is it?
Steve Miner.
I just wanted to mess with Rick again.
He knew how this film needed to end. Had you had any other director in this film that didn't know how to conclude a film or how to handle a film and ended this film the wrong way, man, this film would have been politically so bad on every front. And Steve Miner pulls this one together by the end, and that's a great director for you.
All right. Well, on that note, 3cinenerds@gmail.com is the email. And as we told you in the beginning of this, the new website for the podcast is CineNerdsPodcast.com. Please check that out. Check out the reviews on there. Check out the extra stuff. One-stop shop for all of your fun. It's all there. Whether it's your Audible listening pleasures or you want to check out our merch store, it's all there. I'll let JP give his spiel.
All right, so like this video, heart this audio track, share it. Click that little share button on them. Share it to your socials. Subscribe. If you've not subscribed to us or followed us on wherever you're listening to us at, click follow. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcast, go give us a follow on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, go to Apple or Spotify. Follow us on those, just so we get the followers amped up. If you're not following us on Facebook, go there. Follow us there. Write a review. Write a review on our Apple Podcast. You can comment on the YouTube channel, on the post. You can comment. You can go into our Facebook. You can write a review on our Facebook as well. So, yeah, do all these things. Invite your friends. Share it. Talk about it. Get us out there. It's the easiest thing to do is share, like, heart, all that.
What he said.
All right.
We're your CineNerds.
Later.
Later.